Hi, this is Joby Provido, and you're listening to Contemplating the Rosary, where we talk about how to pray the Holy Rosary even better. In 104 episodes, over 4 seasons, we will explore a method of how to say the Rosary the way Pope St. John Paul II, Pope Paul VI, and other Rosary advocates recommend, and that's by contemplating the mysteries while we say the Our Father, Hail Mary, and Glory Be. This podcast is based on the book Beyond the Veil, Contemplating the Mysteries of the Holy Rosary, available at Lazada in the Philippines and in print or Kindle on Amazon, wherever you are. Visit kindlingspress.com for more information and where you can read and download the episode guide. This is episode 9. I'm so happy you can be with me again. Today we'll be completing the joyful mysteries as we explore the finding of the child Jesus in the temple. In this episode, we'll talk about the Holy Family as a domestic church, the place where a child first encounters God. The Gospel of Luke tells us that Joseph and Mary went to the Passover in Jerusalem every year. That might not mean anything to us, but there are quite a few things we should think about. First, boys 12 years old and below are not required to go to something like a Passover feast in Jerusalem. It is when they reach 13 they are accepted into the Jewish community through a bar mitzvah, which incidentally means son of the law. So if Joseph and Mary went every year, with whom did they leave Jesus? I think we can imagine they left Jesus with St. Joachim and St. Anne. I remember when my sister gave birth to her first son and she needed to go somewhere important, she'd leave herself with my parents. Oh, they'd look forward to those days. If they had their way, they'd wish my sister had many more of those errand days so they could be with their grandson. I imagine that's how it was with the grandparents of our Lord too. It just goes to show that our Lord was really human. He was really part of a human family, complete with grandparents to dote on him. Another takeaway I think we can get from this is that Jesus was learning from his parents about these festivities, even if he wasn't going to them. Growing up, when his mind was more mature, he probably thought these festivities were important because his parents went to them. Don't we learn from watching our parents, from what they do, from what they say? I still remember I wasn't even 10 years old. I'd see my father bringing around a toolbox around the house, tinkering with things that needed fixing or adjusting. Where I'm from, we don't have any formal lessons in school on carpentry or things like that. But from watching my father, I learned how to do the things he did. My father has long passed away, but I have a toolbox of my own and tinker around the house too nowadays. On the spiritual side, my parents went to Mass every day, and it became natural for me to think this was the normal thing to do. So eventually, I went to Mass every day as well. We really do the things our parents do, don't we? I think this is why the family is important. It is at home where a child learns about God before he goes to school or to church, or in the case of Jesus, to the synagogue. This is why the family is also called the Ecclesia Domestica, the domestic church. This is exactly what we can see happening in the Holy Family. Our Lord was learning about the festivals he said we should observe. Isn't that interesting? Our Lord learning from his human parents about himself in scriptures? So, the Gospel of Luke tells us that Jesus was 12 years old when his parents brought him with them. Since he wasn't required to go, it must have been some sort of practice trip for the official start of his adult life the next year. The way the people went to the Passover feast in Jerusalem was by caravan. This meant the Holy Family joined others on this trip. Just to provide a background of this next topic, let me tell you a bit about my summers when I was growing up. Every summer, the families in our small village would go to the beach, which was about an 8-hour drive north. There were 2 beach houses there. One had air conditioning, but the other didn't. So a week before the trip, the families would gather in someone's house and hold a raffle to see who would stay in the air-conditioned rooms. You should see the smiles of those who got the air-conditioned rooms. On the day of the trip itself, we needed to leave at around 4 a.m. to make it in time for lunch at the beach. Every year, the same neighbor would volunteer to go around the block at 3 a.m. with his sirens blaring as some sort of alarm clock. We did this each year, and I'm telling you about this because if our little village had some sort of ritual before leaving for a trip that would take 8 hours, it should be interesting to imagine what the things the Holy Family did to prepare for an 8-day journey. Maybe we can make this part of our imagination when we start this mystery. What was Joseph and Mary preparing? Their version of sandwiches. They prepared water for sure. On this particular trip, what did they make Jesus in charge of? Let's imagine what their version of luggages were. What was in them? Did they pack special clothes for the Passover meal? Who did they travel with? Most likely, other family members. Was Zachariah and Elizabeth traveling with them? If so, did they bring John the Baptist? That must have been exciting for Jesus, knowing his cousin would be in the caravan. Our Lord probably couldn't sleep from all the excitement the night before the trip. What rituals or preparations do you do before going on a trip? Translate that to what Joseph, Mary, and Jesus had to do before going on their trip. Let's kick off this mystery with one or two beads, imagining the Holy Family preparing, and then joining the larger caravan. Let's imagine them in the most human way. I think this is a good place to end this episode. We'll pick this up in seasons 2, 3, and 4. Okay? As always, this podcast is brought to you by thecatholictalks.com and kindlingspress.com, where you can read more articles on the Catholic faith and find more books on Catholicism. This has been Joby Provido. I will say goodbye for now. And please join me again next time when we can learn to pray the Rosary better. Bye-bye.